Morning.
Yeah, I'm doing very fine. Good morning, Blessing. Good morning to our listeners, obviously. Well, maybe Chacha will learn that you don't just watch a game of football for 15 minutes.
No, you don't. You go all the way.
Before
I tell you.
A decision. Sometimes it's just the entire story or the highlight of the game will come just within the last 5 minutes of the game. So if you watched only the first 80 minutes of the game, you probably wouldn't even be able to properly tell the story of what happened in the game. Then I'm so happy to see Blessing back. Well, I walked into the office expecting to see maybe Lagos goodies, chocolates, maybe Lagos bread as well. But one way or the other, Blessing found a way to disappoint me. But then the day is not over. The day is not over, so maybe it's still on its way.
Maybe it's on its way.
Yeah. So
okay, so let's see. Well, speaking of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, I'm looking at the front page of Sporting Life this morning, and it's saying 24 hours after the AFCON ticket, Eagles Eko Hotel camp empty. Players head back to Europe. Collins Uzo departed on Wednesday night. Janot Raw spotted in Abuja, and Uzo says delighted to be back after 2 years. And from Tuesday night, the players, especially those who were based in England, they boarded a flight back to London that same night after the game ended. So should tell you that attention has shifted from the qualifications to Premier League because, of course, they still have to get quarantined.
Yeah, obviously, the earlier the better for the players. That is exactly the problem. They might still need to, isolate themselves over there in UK. So it's important for the players to move as quickly as possible. As long as they've done justice to what we wanted them to do, then they can go and face their footballing career. Their club football career as well, which is very important because if you're not playing well for your club side, you wouldn't even get into the national team. So all these things they're normal in the world of football. I've seen clubs in Europe as well announce the arrival of their players back in the camp and all that. I hope for our players that were in rich vein of form before the international break, talking about players like Kelechi Iheanacho. Fortunately, he didn't get a goal over the course of those 2 games.
But he played well.
Yeah, he played so well. In fact, he was playing too far away from goal for me.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the reason. Raw in his usual conservative approach, I didn't play a little bit deep. It was meant to be a 4-4-2, but it was playing more like an attacking midfielder rather than a second striker, which it was meant to be. And I believe it was the coach's instruction and all that. So, I'm happy that our players are in good form now. Those that were not in good form before the break as well might also take a cue from the good international outing they had, and then maybe kick up from there, going back to their club side. So I think just like you are, Nigerians are still buzzing right now.
Nigerians are still buzzing indeed. Before we leave the subject of the Super Eagles of Nigeria, I'm looking at that front lineup for us, the attacking lineup, and I recall that a few months before this game, there were talks about the possibility of having Odion Judigalu back in the national team. And now that we saw what Victor Osimhen did, we saw what Paul Onuachu did. I mean, that man, from being on the standby, like I said yesterday, to stand out, because I felt like it was one of the stand-up performers at the Nations Cup. Are you still looking in the direction of Odion Igalu?
No, I think we've gone past.
We've gone past.
We have so many options.
Let's just move on, right?
We have to move on.
Move on and forget all those talks. Okay, let's leave the Super Eagles for a moment and come right into tennis, where Naomi Osaka, she has been on 23-match winning streak, but that came to a halt yesterday as the Japan's world number 2 was stunned 6-love, 6-4 by Maria Sakkari in the quarterfinals of the Miami Open. Japan's Osaka, playing her first tournament since lifting her 4th Grand Slam title in Australian Open, was just 8 points in the first set as she failed to muster a single win. Osaka broke in the second game of the second set and seized a 3-love lead before Sakkari rode back to seal a semi-final spot in the prestigious ATP Masters and WTA hard-court event. The defeat ended Osaka's chance of overtaking top-seeded Australian Ashley Barty atop the world rankings this year, a fact she acknowledged may have upped the pressure she was feeling against Greece's 25th ranked Sakkari. And for Sakkari, she'll be up against Canadian Bianca Andreescu for a place in the final. Andreescu, ranked 9th in the world, clawed out 6-4, 3-6, 6-3 victory over tenacious 58th ranked Spaniard Sara Sorribo Tomo. For Osaka, internet went on meltdown yesterday, especially on Twitter. 23-match unbeaten streak ended. It was always going to come to that point.
Yeah, obviously, but many people wouldn't have expected a particular Greek Sakkari to be the one to end that run. Someone that had never beaten someone in the top 3 in the world, and her highest ranking ever is 20. So you look at all those things and say maybe the odds were a little bit against her. But then, just like we always see in the world world of sports. She was domineering. In fact, the first set was almost a whitewash. The second set, Naomi Osaka found a way back, just like you said, 3-love. She went up 3-love, but then Sakari still went deep. She was able to dig so deep into that one, and she still got the all-important win. And I think that should be maybe a kickstart of something great to her career. Who knows? She's also able to look at Bianca Andreescu in the next round and also defeat her. Then she'll begin to get more confidence from that. But maybe a bad one for Naomi Osaka. But all these things will happen. It will only spur you on to greater things later on.
And we hope that spurs Osaka on to greater things as well. There was surprise defeat in the men's quarterfinals as Russia's top seed Daniil Medvedev also eliminated in straight set by Roberto Bautista Agut. The Spaniard beat Australian Open finalist Medvedev 6-4, 6-2 in just 92 minutes to reach his fourth ATP Masters 1000 semi-final. He will meet Yannick Sinner in the last four, having been beaten by the Italian 19-year-old in Dubai back in March. And moving on to basketball real quick, there were games played in the early hours of this morning. The NBA, Miami Heat defeated Indiana Pacers 92-87. I hope you can understand why we have so much interest in Miami Heat these days. We have Nigerians on the roster there. We have to continue monitoring their progress. Portland Trail Blazers defeated Detroit Pistons 124-101. Houston Rockets against the Brooklyn Nets. Harden was supposed to be playing against his former side in this one. He had a hamstring tightness, but it was Kyrie Irving who carried Brooklyn Nets 120-108 over Houston Rockets. Utah Jazz defeated Memphis Grizzlies 111-107. New York Knicks lost narrowly to Minnesota Timberwolves just by a point, 102-101. It ended there. And Milwaukee Bucks defeated Lakers who are injury hit at the moment. No Davis, Anthony Davis, there's no LeBron James. Just have the likes of Dennis Schroeder holding on with the team at this point, but it was Milwaukee Bucks who came up victorious in this one, 112-97. And away from that, still in basketball, but here in Nigeria, here in Africa, Rivers Hoopers head coach Ogo Dadu says his team must go all out and recruit a great foreign talent, not one, as much as possible to ensure success in the Maiden Basketball African League, which tips up in May. Hoopers are Nigeria's representatives in the continent's premier inter-club basketball competition, which was initially scheduled for March 2020, but was postponed indefinitely due to the coronavirus pandemic. The Basketball African League has now announced the 12-team tournament will start on Sunday, 16th of May at the Kigali Arena, Rwanda. That's in Rwanda. And Odadu, while saying he can't wait to finally get underway, expressed hopes the competition won't suffer another postponement. The long-serving basketball coach said that with tip-off imminent, the Rivers State team must now get into recruitment overdrive and target the best of foreign players available to help Hoopers in their quest for glory. Well, also very, very excited that the long-awaited tournament is finally tipping off, but then he believes that Hoopers' chances in the tournament could suffer due to lack of competitive games with the NBBF Premier League still on hiatus, and that indeed is a very, very valid point. Other nations have their leagues going on at the moment, but for us here in Nigeria, the boys haven't played in, I think, since 2018 or 2017. But listen to Ogo Dadu here, the head coach of Rivers Hoopers basketball team.
Like every other person that was waiting for this announcement, I'm excited, looking forward to the BAL finally hoping that it will still hold, not that after a while we still get a disappointment. We hope it will hold this time around. My plans are not any different. It's just go back to the drawing board and walk. It's practice. There's no time anymore. Also, consider the fact that we've not recruited our foreign-based players. That is going to be foremost on our mind now, to get the best that are available right now so that they can help our team. A month should be enough. Well, we are at a disadvantage because it's not as if we have even actually started our league, so you could not say that we've been playing any serious basketball, but hopefully we will do what it takes to get us prepared for the tournament and come out with a good result. Very optimistic that we can do well, and that's what we're planning for.
Okay, head coach of Rivers Hoopers basketball team, Ogo Dadu, they're optimistic that they can do, and of course they're planning towards that. It's a big disadvantage that we do not have the basketball league ongoing, but would you be surprised with whatever results comes out of this, especially for Rivers Hoopers?
Yeah, obviously I would be surprised, especially if it is a positive result, because we always talk about match redeem and all that. Once you don't have it, there's a way to that. You might have been training for so long, but when there's this lack of competitive action, once you have that, there's a way it affects your performance when you come up tops against those that have been playing week in, week out, against other competitors. And I also mentioned something about getting foreign-based players. Do they have the resources to get that? Well, that is also...
You expect that Rivers State would have that resources?
Well, yeah, you might say that, but then we've also seen teams in times past from that particular part also complain about lack of funds and all that. But if they get that, well, it's fine. I remember now a little bit into the world of football. Remember, Imba also had players when they won the CAF Champions League. They had players from all around Africa. They had Ghanaians. They had people from Benin Republic and all that. So if they're able to get foreign-based players to incorporate them and get a good blend of players to navigate that, then I think that will be a very good one for them. We always support them. We want them to do well. So hopefully they'll be able to do well. And maybe one or two players might sneak in to the Olympic team. Sneaking, in quotes. Sneaking.
Really, sneaking, that's the word, really, is the word. But I expect that state will have money. Of course, they have the Rivers, the Real Madrid Football Academy in their state. They should have money to be able to sponsor the sport. Let's move on to the third MOC Grand Prix, which ended in Lagos yesterday. This was the reason why I had to stay back in Lagos, because it's an Olympic qualifying tournament, and I had to see if we are going to have teams, athletes from Nigeria qualify for the Olympics from that tournament. That's the third MOC Grand Prix, which ended in Lagos yesterday. And of course, ended with Kenyan sprinter Ferdinand Omayala and Nigeria's new kid on the block, Grace Nwokocha, emerging champions with sizzling performances that qualified them for the Tokyo Olympics. That's in the men's and women's 100 meters. The competition held at Yaba College of Technology Sports Complex, Lagos, saw Omayala, a student of the University of Nairobi, Kenya, beating Kenya's national record to qualify for the Olympics with his first race on the red tartan tracks of the stadium. He blitzed to a new national record and meet record of 10.01 seconds to win his heat. The Kenyan, the former rugby player, powered to 100-meter gold in 10.05 seconds, defeating defending champion Nigeria's Enoch Adegoke, who settled for the second place, but at the same time allotted to him. While the men's race went above the down to the wire, Nwokocha, that's Grace Nwokocha, kept daylight between herself and the chasing pack in the women's final as she stormed to a world lead, meet record and personal best of 11.09 seconds. A result that sees her becoming the third Nigerian woman to qualify for the Olympics in 2021. The run inspired by MOC's Joy Udo Gabriel to a new personal best of 10.34 seconds, while Prissy Damadudu got in on the personal best train to place third with 11.46 seconds. I spoke with Coach Gloria Alozie. You know Gloria Alozie, the legend of the track when it comes to Nigeria, and I was asking her about the chances of the home-based, how the home-based are doing, and she had a few things to say. Maybe on Saturday we'll get to hear what she told me about the importance of having more competition for the home-based to take part in, to give them chances of also showing their talent on the world stage. On Saturday, we'll listen to that interview. But quickly, we have to move on the show this morning to the National Sports Festival. It should be starting next week. And starting from tomorrow. It's expected to hold from tomorrow, April 2nd to 14th of April. All of the uncertainty, maybe it's finally put to rest and we'll have the games. But the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, we are hearing, has approved the staging of Edo 2020 National Sports Festival. What, in your opinion, will be a good outing for Team Oyo here? Yeah,
well, anything beyond what we've always done in the past. I know our range has always been around 7th, 8th, 9th, sometimes 6th. That is always our range. So if we get something a little bit beyond that, because we cannot take anything away from the big boys, the big lads, or the big states. In quote, you remember Delta will always come up, somewhere around the top 3. You also have Lagos doing well. We have the perennial super. But
Delta won't be having their foreign-based athletes for this one.
It doesn't matter. We all know that. Well, there are some games, there are some sports, as a matter of fact, where they rack up so many medals. You look at swimming, you look at all those kind of sports where there are so many medals up for grabs, and they would most often than not rack up almost all the medals around there. So they will still do well. I still expect all those big states to also come up to us. But anything beyond I think we were 7th the last time out. I'm not exactly sure about that right now, but I know we're always around that range. But if we get something around 5th, especially with the kind of investments going on in sport right now, you look at the Adama Singba Stadium, what is going on there, and all those in Oyo State right now. I think maybe it will be the best reflection of what the government is doing if our sportsmen are able to do something better than we've had in the past, something beyond the norm, and that is what we expect from Oyo State. So I'll always be rooting for Oyo State, always. Team Oyo, go Team Oyo, go for gold.
Team Oyo all the way. Okay, now we are going back into football with the Women's Champions League. If you think of what Real Madrid is to the Men's Champions League, then maybe you understand what Wolfsburg is, when it comes to women's football. But yesterday was a different story entirely. Chelsea women knocked them out of the Champions League, 5-1 on aggregate. That's unbelievable for me. They won the second leg 3-0 after they took a 2-1 first leg advantage. And at the end of the day, it was 5-1 aggregate victory to Chelsea women. Sam Kerr, absolutely amazing in that one for Chelsea over Wolfsburg. And for the one I think concerns us the most, that's because Barcelona women, Azizat Oshoala, she netted a vital away goal for Barcelona ladies, who, although they lost 2-1, but they against Manchester City women, but they were able to qualify 4-2 on aggregate after they won the first leg 3-0. Oshoala was also on target in the first leg. She scored in the 59th minute to make it 1-1, and she has now scored 5 goals in her last 6 games for the Spanish champions, and also she has found the back of the net 4 times in this season's Women's Champions League. Great result for her. We're happy. She's in form.
Yeah, she's in form. She's undoubtedly the best female player on the continent right now. Well, I think it's almost impossible to bet. It's almost impossible to bet against her beating the record of the most successful, African women's player ever, because she's currently tied on 4 African women player of the year with Perpetua and Kocha. So I'm not seeing anyone beat this year, so she might just be the one for that. But we always continue to root for her. Sometimes when we don't see her in the starting lineup, we always feel very unhappy about that. But regardless of the number of minutes she's given, they bring her off the bench to play 10 minutes, 15 minutes. She still tries as much as possible to leave her mark on the game, and that is something really laudable. You look at Chelsea as well; they've been doing so well, even in the league. I've been monitoring them for some time. You look at players like Penny Lauda. They also have Frank Kirby, Sam Kerr, just like you mentioned, and so many of them are doing so well. And maybe they are looking at maybe their men's team will begin to look at the women's team now.
Take a cue from them.
Take some motivation from the women's team. So a maximum credit to what they are doing there at the Chelsea Women Football Club.
And later today we'll see FC Bayern Munich ladies going away to Rosengard women. They hold the 3-0 first leg advantage from that one. I don't know whether to say that's done and dusted, but hey, anything can happen in the world of football. That's how it is there. And away from that, let's talk about the World Cup qualifying series Europe. Like we said earlier on as we're starting the show about Germany, North Macedonia stunned Germany, 4-time world champions as a matter of fact. And to win 2-1, they defeated Germany at home. I think I'm wondering, first off, Timo Werner, he had a very, very glorious chance, which he lost. And then I'm looking at what has happened to Timo Werner himself and what has happened to the German national team as a whole.
I think just like we've always said, sometimes the life cycle of a team is like of a football team. It's just like a human's life cycle. When you get to the peak, you begin to decline, and sometimes you might just need a fresh manager on board. Well, the coach has said he will be leaving the team after the European Championships and all that. So maybe they will need a breath of fresh air in that team. But we shouldn't look too much into that game. They've always had good results in World Cup qualifying series for some time right now, and you would not have expected. I'm sure it must have been a bad day for punters. Who probably must have placed a lot of money on that. For a team placed outside the top 100 in the world, I think North Macedonia, they're around 113 or thereabouts. You look at Germany, whose lowest ranking ever is 22. You look at the huge gulf in class between that team. You look at the North Macedonian team, and you look at maybe the only player you can recognize from that team is Goran Pandev.
Yeah,
and Pandev is 37 years old. Remember Pandev from the Inter Milan treble winning team and all that. But he's 37. He scored the first goal in that game. Maybe Alioski, the man from Leeds United as well. Maybe those are the 2 players that you probably would recognize from that team. You would not have expected them to get that kind of result. But when you don't convert your chances in that kind of game, at 1-0, Timo Werner had a glorious opportunity. If there's anything better than glorious to describe that, you need to do that, because it was almost like he needed just that touch and he miscued that effort. And maybe it's beginning to look like, what is wrong with this man? It's just misfiring. It's not about getting into the good spaces right now, because what I always say is the first problem for a forward is getting into good spaces, good scoring positions. But he has been able to defeat that. It's not a problem for him. He gets into good spaces, but converting the chance is now the problem for him. So maybe Joachim Low, Thomas Tuchel will all come together, maybe organize a masterclass session to get Timo Werner.
Honestly, we saw how he was at RB Leipzig before he made that switch to Chelsea. It's been, he's been a shadow of himself, really. And Harry Maguire's late winner made it maximum 9 points from 3 World Cup 2022 qualifiers for England as they overcame Poland at Wembley. Poland presented a much sterner test than the formalities against San Marino and Albania, and it looked like England would have settled for a point until Maguire struck 5 minutes from time. You needed to see Faith shaking his head here. Perhaps happy that Maguire got a goal. There is more on the BBC Premier League update.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Hello, I'm Paul Serres at the BBC Sports Centre. Harry Kane and Harry Maguire got the goals as England beat Poland 2-1 at Wembley to make it a perfect 3 wins from 3 World Cup qualifiers in the international break. Manchester United captain Harry Maguire says the team deserved the victory.
Yeah, it was a big moment for the team. We're trying to qualify for the World Cup, the biggest competition in the world, so sometimes things don't come easy. We had to grind out there. We knew how important the 3 points was, especially when they drew their first game of the group, so it's made a 5-point gap now. So it was an important night for us to go and win. We played brilliant in the first half, controlled the game, really needed that second goal, and then they had 15 minutes spell in the second half and they punished us with it. So it was a big reaction from us and we took control of the game again, and I think overall we deserved the win.
If you were hoping to see the exciting Norwegian star in the Premier League anytime soon, prepare to be disappointed. The Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola is targeting Erling Haaland as Sergio Aguero's replacement. But the Norwegian football commentator Christian Nielsen says despite links to both Manchester clubs and the popularity of the English game in Norway, he thinks Haaland will be looking elsewhere.
The Manchester United supporters club in Scandinavia have got over 40,000 members, so a lot of Norwegians support Manchester United and want him to end up there. With the connection with Solskjaer, who was his manager at Molde, you could probably understand where those thoughts come from, but when you think about his dad, that he played for Manchester City, there's a strong connection there as well. City need a top-class striker, Haaland is that, but I think that as well, a lot of people would say that if Barcelona or Real Madrid came in with a bid, he would probably go to Spain, as those clubs are more prestigious.
And for more football news from the BBC, go to bbc.com/football.
BBC Premier League update from the home of Premier League football.
Okay, we're reaching home stretch on Sports Bank this morning and we have to pack our bags and leave, but not before we talk about this real quick, Faith. 2002 World Cup, do you remember the hairstyle Ronaldo was sporting?
Yeah, I remember.
The iconic hairstyle.
Yeah.
Were you tempted at any point to carry that kind of hairstyle?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, almost every young boy going around at that point in time was always
I didn't see something like that in Nigeria, did I?
No, I saw it. I saw kids having that little punk just in front of you. So that is what we say. Football has a huge influence on people. Society.
Anyway, listen to this. Ronaldo himself has come out to apologize. He says it's horrible. I apologize to all mothers who saw their kids make the same haircut. He says it's horrible.
I think as a matter of fact, I was tempted to have that haircut.
And I imagine at that point he would have thought, okay, I'm looking good.
Yeah, obviously.
It's fashion. I'm dripping. But of course, after many years, he's come back to look at it and say
maybe
it was absolutely horrible.
You know, he's way older now, and he's feeling like, well, maybe those was as a result of youthful ignorance.
Okay, guys, you have to leave on Sports Bank this morning. Thanks for being a part of our show. We're back here tomorrow at 7:30 for Winning Friday edition of the show. My name is Blessing Fowowe, and I've worked with Faith Adedeji this morning. Have a great Thursday. Au revoir.
Because I always got a clear view, like a lion.